Welcome everybody to BeamNG.drive, and today we're going to be throwing cars off a cliff just to see how tough roll cages can be on cars. Now obviously this ROF Alpha does not have a roll cage, but that's purely because we're going to be showing you what happens to a car that doesn't have a roll cage, and then you'll see why roll cages are so important. So yeah, as we throw vehicles off here, I will slow it down to two times because the action can get quite hectic at times, and it's hard to see what's going on with cars rolling around as they pick up momentum as they go down this really rather steep cliff, which has plenty of areas to damage the vehicle on, not just from gravity but from jagged edges and the like. So yeah, this ROF Alpha is holding up okay so far, but as we get further and further down, it's going to get more and more ruined, really. And as you can see, the roof is already caving in, which is something a roll cage would hopefully prevent. Yeah, the rest of the car is being completely pummeled, though the engine and drivetrain is okay so far, which I would expect to go quite quickly, to be honest. Lost a wheel. We're gonna land on the roof. Yes, we are. There goes another rear wheel. And there we go. So yeah, pretty devastating damage there. The roof hasn't caved in quite as much as you would expect, but yeah, the likelihood of survivability in that is pretty zero, to be honest. Right, so let's see what a roll cage does in terms of helping cars out. Now, unfortunately, the ROF Alpha does not come with a roll cage version, but we'll start out with a small car just to see how a roll cage really helps. So yeah, this is the smallest car we have that has a roll cage. Unfortunately, the Pigeon does not come with one, but I imagine if that even did have a roll cage, it wouldn't survive because that bodywork can easily come away from the chassis. So yeah, this Autobello's doing alright so far. Quite frankly, if the exhaust being damaged is the worst that happens to this car, then we'll be alright, but that is unlikely. As we saw with the ROF Alpha, damage does collect really rather quickly. Lost the rear axle. See how fast the car is spinning even in 2 times slow-mo, so that's why it's not going full whack, because it can be quite disorientating. Yeah, we've lost every wheel now. There's only one attached, that's not in terms of drivability at least. I wonder if it'll hold on to the end. And there we go. So yeah, the roll cage held up fairly well there. I think the seat of the driver got a little bit on the twisted side. But yeah, the roll cage hasn't intruded into the passenger compartment all that much. It has bent in areas. As you can see, the roof has bent in, and this bit has bent a fair bit as well. I think that's actually broken there. So yeah, it's not 100% in terms of the roll cage, but it's certainly a far more survivable crash than the ROF Alpha would have been. Right, let's see what a Corvette can do. We're actually going to go for a different version of the Corvette, because yeah, I found one that has a more different variant to it, and yeah, it's a lifted version. But it still has a roll cage, just like a track or rally version would have. So let's see what this rather higher Corvette can do. losing the wheels, which is no surprise given how exposed they are. They're nowhere near as protected as the previous two vehicles. The chassis seems to be coming away from the bodywork there, which is not good. The chassis actually got to peel away from the bodywork. It's on the verge of doing so. There's only really the front end that's holding on. But it survives. Just. And the car, yeah, that's reasonably good in terms of the roll cage surviving there. It's, yeah, done its job. It's taken damage, but not enough to cave in the roof or any of the other bodywork into the area where the passenger or driver would be. So yeah, in terms of that part, it survived well. But yeah, the rest of the car has been completely demolished. Yeah, you do not want the bodywork separating from the chassis, quite frankly, and that's what happened there. So yeah, survivability in that regard is not very good at all. So yeah, let's see what something a little bit on the larger side can do. Let's go for a Moonhawk, and let's go for a track version. Now this has a roll cage, but there's a lot more in the way of bodywork on either side of where the roll cage is, so whether or not that's going to make any negative impact, we'll have to see. Well, the door's already come open, which is not a good idea. Not as much protection as you can get when you're rolling around like this. Another bad thing with the Moonhawk is obviously it's got a really rather exposed fuel tank, which would not obviously help survivability. The axle is shifting around on the rear now, not like it matters because it's the rear wheel now. So it's making a little bit, unfortunately. Been having a lot more problems with that lately with this game since a recent major update. I don't know why. Hopefully it'll get sorted out eventually. It's not on every vehicle, thankfully, but yeah, has been several vehicles that have been like that, which is a shame. Yeah, in terms of roll cage, that's done reasonably well. Obviously, the fact that the dashboard has caved in is not a good idea. So yeah, and the steering wheel's in the seat of the driver. So yeah, roll cage has been okay, but the rest of the car has failed in terms of protecting the driver. Really, could have done with a roll cage maybe across the dashboard to stop that coming in, and yeah, as a result, that's quite severely impacted where the driver would be, unfortunately. So yeah, the Moonhawk not doing well there. Surprisingly worse than the Autobello, considering how small that car is. Let's see what a more modern car to do. Let's see what the Bitron B2 can do. This is obviously based on a Citroen C2 or C1, whichever one. But obviously it can't be called that for legal reasons. But yeah, let's see what a small modern hatchback can do. That's a heavy hit on the roof there. I think the roll cage bent a little bit. If it didn't, it survived really well. You wouldn't think it, but this also has a fairly exposed fuel tank. Has caught fire on me in crash tests before. rear end has caved in a fair old bit, but that's where the roll cage goes down, so that's no surprise. There we go, that is a success, I think, there. Dashboard has not encroached into the driver, nor has the steering wheel, and yeah, the roll cage has pretty much survived. Obviously this area here has caved in, but that's taken a lot of the energy out of any punishment that the car would have been going through, protecting the driver. So yeah, the car's done its job. The car's a wreck, but it has done its job nonetheless. Right. See if we've got anything modern and big to go in. See a Roma. Not technically all that modern, it is 90s, but it should do a fair or good job here. Let's go for the off-road version, because yeah, that's going to have the suspension, the roll cage, everything else that we need. Don't get stuck. Just move the car to get those wheels going. See that we've lost front wheels completely already, which is a surprise. The car itself is holding up though so far. Speed it up a little bit to get out of this gully. Bodywork is taking all of the punishment here. I do like taking vehicles like this down though that have numerous elements to fall off. Looks a bit more spectacular than just a car that's going to stay virtually intact. But yeah, we've lost all of the wheels. There goes all the roof paraphernalia. Obviously being a heavier vehicle than the previous ones, this is putting more energy into the car and therefore the roll cage, and there goes the bodywork itself. It's separated, unlike that raised culvert. We're hanging on by a thread of bodywork. Which is obviously not good, because yeah, if you lose the chassis then you're losing some of the protection, but yeah, that roll cage has survived. It's obviously bent down a fair old bit, but not enough to reduce survivability. So yeah, that's pretty good. But yeah, the fact it's completely separated from the chassis is a little bit concerning, to be honest. So yeah, that isn't good. But it's taken the punishment and not the driver, so that's always a good thing at the end of the day. Right, let's see what something else from the same kind of period can do, but a different kind of bodywork size. Don't think we have anything in the ETK series to try out in terms of, yeah, roll cages, unfortunately. Alright, then let's go the other way then. Let's see what a classic muscle car can do. I think, yeah, the stock car has a roll cage. That's to be expected considering the high speeds these things get up to. As you can see, roll cage. And yeah, like the Moonhawk, this has a lot of bodywork up front and rear. Yeah, the roll cage has not come into play yet. No, it has. It's fairly survived that. All of the damage on that bit there. roll cage seems to have held up there. Slightly dented in on the roof area, but not by much really. Yeah, that's probably the best one so far, especially since these areas, the front and rear, have taken the majority of the damage there. I think it only came down on the roof a couple of times. So yeah, the excessive amount of bodywork up front and rear there, proving advantageous for the stock car there. Right, let's see what a Gavril Mioni can do. This is a mod that's been added. We'll do the wagon version. I think it's called the Mioni. Might call it the Mi1. Not really sure what it's called or how it's pronounced, but let's see what it can do. This is basically a culvert and a Legrand, I think, merged into one, with some alterations in terms of the kind of bodywork it's going for it, but hopefully the roll cage will survive. Oh, that's a fair bit of a dent into the door there, which is not good. The car's held up fairly well mechanically. It's not lost its drive shaft or engine yet. Wheels are no doubt bent out of shape, but none of them have pinged off either. I suspect that's going to be the case in a minute. Well, the exhaust has been damaged. Not that really matters. The entire chassis has bent now. There goes the wheel. Let's turn it over to see what's what. If it'll let us. Yeah, that's fairly catastrophic there. That's all bent down. That's bent outwards. Obviously the door caved in onto the passenger there. And yeah, it's bent out of shape to the point where it's intruded onto the driver's seat as well. So yeah, I wouldn't say that's a success really, especially since the amount of bending and bowing into the chassis as well would have put the forces through into the people inside. So yeah, that is a fairly catastrophic crash there. Then again, it is a fairly lightweight vehicle, so therefore it's going to be taking all of the punishment into the roll cage and not the bodywork, so I guess it's no real surprise. Right, let's see what a van can do. I'm going to go for the crash hard wide van, because these crash spectacularly, because they've got so many components to them that can fall off and fly around. All of the debris, even more. Mechanically it's still sound in terms of engine and drivetrain, but we have obviously lost the wheel and all of the bodywork pretty much. And there goes the rear wheel. There goes the entire rear subframe. Frankly, I'm surprised we've still even got a door or two attached. Yeah, the roll cage survived virtually intact. It's bent a little bit, but not by much. It's only really on the rear there. But yeah, the rest of the car is completely disintegrated. And in all honesty, I wouldn't trust those seats to really provide the kind of protection that you'd need. proper racing seat would be better. But yeah, on the whole, the roll cage survived that fairly intact. Just a shame that the rest of the vehicle did not, as you can see, it looks like an airplane crash has happened with all the amount of debris that's gone everywhere. I mean, there's still several parts up on the mountain, so yeah, there we go. So yeah, that's really the advantages of having a roll cage, really. I guess you really didn't need me to do this video to know that, but it provided some crash fun and yeah, plenty of destruction. So yeah, if you're going to do these kind of crash tests, then it is interesting to see the differences between a car that's made to survive a crash in normal circumstances, but then there's also the cars that are made to survive a crash in terms of racing or rallying or anything like that. And yeah, there's a real stark difference between the two. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.